Can I tell you something that genuinely made me angry once?
Please.
I was 27. I had just decided to change direction. Completely. New field, new skills, completely different from what I'd been doing. And someone I respected, someone older, someone I thought knew things, said to me, "You know, it gets harder to change after 25. The brain is less plastic. You should have figured this out earlier."
That's a terrible thing to say to someone.
It is. And the worst part is, for about 6 months, I believed it. I thought, maybe they're right. Maybe I left it too late. Maybe this was my one window and I missed it.
And then?
And then I met people. Lots of people. People who started over at 30, at 40, at 55, who learned languages they'd never spoken as children, who built careers from scratch in fields they discovered late, who actually became different people than they were at 25.
And they weren't exceptions.
They were everywhere once I started looking.
I'm Jake.
And I'm Anna. Welcome to Speak First English, where we speak first and think second.
And today, we're pushing back hard against one of the most damaging myths in self-improvement, the myth that there is an age by which you need to have figured things out, an expiry date on becoming who you want to be.
There isn't one, and today we prove it. Today's topic, people who changed their life after 25.
And we chose 25 specifically, not 30, not 40, because 25 is the age where the pressure is highest, where most people in most cultures start to feel like the window is closing.
You should have your career figured out. You should know what you want. If you haven't started by now, 25 is where the should have by nows start getting louder.
And for English learners, this pressure is especially real. So many of our listeners started learning English late, or started and stopped, and carry this quiet belief, maybe it's too late for real fluency. Maybe my accent will always be too strong. Maybe I missed the window for this language.
Today, we dismantle that belief with real people, with real stories, with the science, and with the language to talk about your own late blooming, honestly and proudly.
Before we start, please share this episode. Share it with someone who told themselves, it's too late for me, or with someone who is about to give up because they think they missed their moment, because this episode is specifically, precisely, exactly for them.
Let's go.
Anna, let's start with the myth. Where does this idea come from that 25 or 30 is some kind of deadline?
It comes from two places. First, from misunderstandings about brain science. There is some truth that certain types of learning are genuinely easier in childhood. Language acquisition in the early years is genuinely faster for certain things.
But that's a very specific and narrow claim.
Very specific. And what gets lost in translation is this. Faster is not the only way to learn. Children learn faster, but adults learn differently. Adults bring context, motivation, analysis, life experience, things children don't have.
And the second source of the myth?
Culture, the narrative that life is a race with milestones at specific ages. Graduate at 22, career by 25, family by 30, and anyone who deviates from the timeline is behind, is failing.
But the timeline was never real.
The timeline was never real. It was a construction. And more importantly, the most interesting people often followed no timeline at all.
Think of it like bread. Some bread is best when it comes out of the oven fast, thin, crispy, light. But the best sourdough, the deep-flavored kind, needs time, days of fermentation, slow processes that can't be rushed. And the result is richer, more complex, more layered than anything quick could produce.
The slow bread is not failed bread. It's a different kind of bread, a better kind for certain things.
And people who change their lives after 25, they are the sourdough, rich, complex, layered by experience, and worth the wait.
Let's talk about real people, because this episode, unlike most of our episodes, is built on stories, real ones. Some from history, some from our listeners, some from people we've met.
And we'll weave in the language as we go, the vocabulary for talking about late transformation, for celebrating late starts, for describing your own evolution.
Story 1. Vera Wang. The famous fashion designer. If you don't know her name, look her up. She was a figure skater first, an Olympic-level skater who didn't make the US Olympic team. Then she became a fashion editor for 17 years. And then, at 39, she designed her first wedding dress.
39, and she became one of the most famous fashion designers in the world.
The career that made her famous didn't begin until an age when many people think about settling, not starting. And the previous careers, the skating, the editing, they weren't detours, they were preparation. She brought something to fashion that someone who started at 22 could never have brought.
The vocabulary word here, pivot, not failure, pivot, a turn towards something better informed by everything that came before.
Story 2, from our own listeners. A woman named Oksana from Ukraine wrote to us. She said she started learning English seriously at 34. 2 children, a full-time job, and the belief that she was too old for languages. She started with this podcast, 15 minutes a day on her commute.
And now?
3 years later, she passed a C1 English exam. She uses English at work every day. And she wrote to us, "I wasted years believing I had missed my window. The window was never closed. I just kept the curtain drawn."
The window was never closed. I just kept the curtain drawn. That sentence should be on a poster somewhere.
It really should. The limitation was the belief, not the brain, not the age, the belief.
Story 3. Harland Sanders, better known as Colonel Sanders, the face of Kentucky Fried Chicken. He spent decades failing at businesses, working odd jobs, struggling financially. He franchised his first KFC restaurant at the age of 62.
62, and built one of the most recognizable brands in the world.
His overnight success took 62 years of living first, of failing first, of accumulating the wisdom and resilience and flavor, metaphorically speaking, that made the thing he built actually good.
Story 4, and this one is about language specifically. A researcher named Benny Lewis, known as the Irish polyglot, studied for years the best language learners in the world, and one of his consistent findings was this: adult learners who commit to daily practice with real communication, not just study, can reach conversational fluency in a second language at any age.
Any age.
Any age. The brain remains plastic. It adapts differently, but it adapts. The adults in his research who succeeded shared not youth, not talent, but consistency, motivation, and the willingness to be imperfect while speaking.
3 things this podcast is literally built on.
3 things every one of our listeners already has. Let's get into the practical tools. Tip 1, and this changes how you see your own story. Tip 1, reframe your timeline.
Because the timeline most people use to measure themselves is someone else's timeline, society's timeline, the Instagram timeline, the by your age I had timeline.
And that timeline was never yours.
So what does it mean to reframe?
It means asking a different question. Not, am I behind, but behind on what exactly, and according to whom?
And usually, when you push on that question, the answer is behind on someone else's idea of what my life should look like, which is not a useful guide for anything.
Here's the reframe. Instead of thinking, I started English at 30, I'm behind, think, I started English at 30. I have the motivation, the context, and the focus that I didn't have at 18. My start is not late, it's well-resourced.
Instead of, I've already wasted so many years, think, every year I lived gave me something I'll bring to this. Nothing is wasted when you're awake to it.
And in English, here's the language for this reframe.
Because I came to this later, but I came to it with more. Acknowledges the late start, claims the advantage.
I spent years preparing for something I didn't know I was preparing for. Retrospective wisdom. Every experience was useful in ways you couldn't see at the time.
Late starter, long stare. Simple, proud. The late start doesn't limit how far you go.
I didn't miss my window, I just opened a different one. The best one. The window is always there. The question is which one you choose.
Tip number 2, and this one is about claiming your story, fully and without apology. Tip 2, name your late bloom.
A late bloom, because the flower that blooms in October is not a failed spring flower. It's an autumn flower. It blooms when it blooms, and it's beautiful in its own season.
And for people who started over or started late, naming that as a late bloom rather than a missed deadline changes the entire emotional frame.
Here's the language for claiming your late bloom in English.
I'm a late bloomer, and I've made peace with that. Honest and settled, no longer apologizing.
I discovered this later than most, which means I discovered it with more intention. The late discovery carries more weight because it was chosen, not inherited.
My path was less linear than most, and that's what makes it mine. Non-linear is not failed linear, it's a different shape of journey.
I spent years finding out what I don't want, which helped me get very clear about what I do want. Reframes the wasted years as research.
I'm not behind. I'm exactly where my story has brought me. Radical acceptance of your actual timeline, claiming it as valid.
And perhaps the most powerful one, I didn't change late. I changed when I was ready. And ready came later for me. And that's okay.
Ready came later for me, and that's okay. Say that out loud if it applies to you, because it is okay, and naming it is the first step to believing it.
Tip number 4, and this one is the counterattack on the myth. Tip 3, use your age as an asset.
Because there are things that older learners bring that younger learners simply don't have yet, and treating them as advantages, not despite your age, but because of it, changes everything.
Let's name them specifically.
First, motivation. You know why you're doing this. Younger learners are often in a language class because someone put them there. You are here because you chose to be here, and motivated learners learn faster.
Second, context. Every word you learn in English already has a real-world context for you. When you learn the word negotiate, you know exactly what it means because you've lived through negotiations. When you learn boundaries, you understand the concept because you've needed them.
Third, patience. Older learners are often more patient with the process. They've learned from experience that most good things take time. They don't expect fluency in 30 days. They're in it for the long game.
And fourth, resilience. You've been through things, difficult things, and you're still here, still trying, still learning. That resilience, that survival experience, is one of the most powerful assets any learner can have.
So the next time someone implies that your age is a disadvantage, in English, the response is,
I bring something to this that younger learners don't, and I intend to use it.
That's it. Simple, true, and non-negotiable.
Tip number 5, and this one is the language toolkit, the specific phrases for talking about late starts, changes after 25, and non-linear paths in real English conversations. Tip 4, build your late start language.
Because this topic comes up in interviews, in new friendships, in networking, in casual conversation when someone asks about your journey. And having the language to talk about your non-linear path with pride rather than apology changes how people receive your story.
Let's build the toolkit.
Came to this later in life than most, but I think that's part of what makes my perspective valuable. Own the late start. Claim the perspective it gave you.
My career path has been anything but straight, and looking back, every twist was useful. Non-linear as rich, not failed.
I spent years changing direction at 30. It was terrifying, and it was absolutely the right call. Both true, honest about the fear, confident about the decision.
I started learning English seriously in my 30s, and I genuinely think I'm learning faster than I would have at 18 because I know why it matters to me.
I spent my 20s figuring out who I wasn't, which made it much easier to figure out who I am in my 30s.
And for when people react with surprise, it's never too late to start. I'm living proof of that.
These phrases claim the story. They don't apologize for the path. They don't explain or justify the timeline. They simply and powerfully say, "This is my story. It's a good one."
And our final tip, tip 5, and this one connects to something we've talked about throughout the series, but in the context of late starts, it has a specific power. Tip 5, speak it into reality.
because one of the things that holds late starters back is the silence around their change. They don't tell people, they don't announce it. They're afraid of judgment. Look at her starting over at 35. And so they do it quietly, privately, as if they're embarrassed by it.
And silence makes fragile things more fragile. When no one knows you're doing something, there's no one to help, no one to encourage, no accountability, no community.
But when you speak it, when you say out loud, I'm changing direction, or I started learning English seriously at 30 and I'm committed to it, something shifts.
People respond. People share their own stories. People offer help you didn't know you needed. And most importantly, you hear yourself saying it. And hearing yourself say it makes it more real, more claimed, more yours.
In English, the speaking it into reality phrases are,
I've decided to change direction. I'm excited and terrified in equal measure. Honest and alive. Invites the other person in.
I started something new recently. I'm in the early stages, but I'm committed. No apology for the early stage. Pride in the commitment.
I'm rebuilding, and it's going better than I expected. Forward-looking, confident.
I made a big change this year. The best decision I've made in a long time. Claim it fully.
Say these things out loud, in English, to real people, not because you need their approval, but because speaking something out loud in the language you're building is one of the most powerful things you can do for both the change and the language at once.
Speak it, in English, into reality. Anna, today's words are about transformation, time, and the language of becoming. Let's look at them.
Yes, our word tour. These words will help you talk about late starts, personal evolution, and non-linear paths in real, confident English.
First word, pivot.
To pivot means to turn significantly in a new direction, especially in career or life. Not a failure turn, an intentional turn. She pivoted from law to education at 32 and never looked back. Or, the best pivots are informed by everything that came before them.
Next, evolve or evolution.
To evolve means to develop gradually into a better or different form. Evolution is that process of gradual change. I'm not the same person I was at 25. I've evolved. Or personal evolution doesn't stop at any age. It just changes speed.
Then, late bloomer.
A late bloomer is someone who develops their talents or potential later in life than is typical. I'm a proud late bloomer. Most of the best things in my life came after 30. Or late bloomers often grow deeper roots because they had more time to develop.
We also used non-linear.
Non-linear means not following a straight or predictable path. My career has been non-linear, and I think that's what makes me interesting. Or the most fulfilling lives are often the most non-linear.
And reinvention.
Reinvention means creating a new version of yourself, significantly changing who you are or what you do. Midlife reinvention is not a crisis, it's an opportunity. Or every time I reinvented myself, I kept the best parts and rebuilt the rest.
And one more, bloom.
To bloom means to develop fully, to flower, used metaphorically for people, the moment they come into their full potential. She bloomed late, but when she did, it was spectacular. Or, you will bloom in your season, not someone else's.
Your speaking gym challenge today, write in the comments, what is one thing that changed for the better in your life after 25? A skill you discovered, a decision you made, a version of yourself that only came later. In English, one sentence.
Because your late bloom is someone else's permission to believe in theirs.
Perfect. Before we finish, 4 things to take away from today.
Step 1, write your late start story in one sentence, in English. Any change you made after 25 or any change you're making now. One sentence. I started over at 31 and it was the best decision of my life. Write it, say it out loud.
Step 2, identify one advantage your age gives you. Motivation, context, patience, resilience. Which one is yours? Name it, claim it.
Step 3, tell one person about something you're changing or building, out loud, in English if possible. Speaking it makes it real.
And step 4, the next time someone or your own inner voice says it's too late, say this: late doesn't mean finished. Late means I came with more.
Quick recap of our 5 tips.
Tip 1. Reframe your timeline. The timeline was never yours. I didn't miss my window, I opened a different one.
Tip 2. Name your late bloom. Claim it without apology. Ready came later for me, and that's okay.
Tip 3. Use your age as an asset. Motivation, context, patience, resilience. You have all 4.
Tip 4. The late start language. My path was non-linear, and that's what makes it mine. Own the story.
Tip 5. Speak it into reality. In English, out loud, to real people. The speaking is the practice.
Our question for today, and we really want your answer.
What is one thing that changed for the better in your life after 25? A skill you discovered, a decision you made, a version of yourself that only came later.
Write it in the comments, in English, 1 sentence, because your late bloom is someone else's permission to believe in theirs.
You are not behind. You never were. You are exactly where your story has brought you, and your story is still being written.
This was Speak First English.
Until next time, speak first, think second, and please bloom in your season. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.